Welcome to Being at Home with George. I'm excited to be here. And let's begin the way we always begin, which is to be able to say yes to life, to embrace whatever comes up, and at the same time generate the hope so that we can make wise choices, so we can live fully and creatively from moment to moment. So I'd like to share a story that I heard some time ago. It's very interesting. What happened was a tractor trailer truck got stuck underneath a bridge. And you had all these experts come in and try to figure out how are they going to dislodge this truck. And you have engineers, and they're spending all this time trying to figure out how to fix the problem. And so as they're doing that, a little boy comes by and he looks at the truck and he says, "Why don't you just let air out of the tires?" And that's what they did. And so when I reflect on that and I think about it, well, why was the young boy able to see it and the experts weren't? And so there's a saying, Suzuki Roshi, he wrote a book called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And he said, in a beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the experts, there are few. And so you might consider the fact that when we know a lot, that actually gets in the way. We have to figure out ways of seeing things in new and fresh ways. And that's why somebody who doesn't have expertise, they're not wedded to a certain paradigm or whatnot. And it's interesting because I heard the story about Bruce Lee teaching two of his students, and he had a teacup and he was pouring tea into the teacup. And he kept pouring the tea, kept pouring the tea, and it overflowed. And they said, "Sensei, why are you pouring the tea?" And he said, "A full cup cannot receive anything." In other words, the cup has to be empty. And once again, you could talk about it as the mind. And so this idea of having a process that allows us to see things in new and fresh ways is really important. As a matter of fact, novelty is a flow trigger that helps us to get into flow. And so what problems do we have where we're coming at it from this intellectual complex point of view and not really understanding what happened with that truck? So the way I look at it is you have to make the next play and you have to ask yourself, what's important now? What's the main thing we need to do? And so if you think about a bridge, you don't want to lift the bridge because then you got to repair it. The best thing to do is to lower the truck. And once you think about it that way and you see it from that perspective, then not only can you take air out of the tires, but you can actually take the tires off and put something underneath and just pull the truck out of it. But here's the key to that. Just by identifying what the real simple solution is, then it becomes obvious. Then you have access to creative ways of lowering the truck. But as long as you're not seeing that, you're stuck in the problem and not in the solution. So obviously, one of the things we want to do is how do we refresh our mind? How do we make our minds see things in new and fresh ways so that we can see the solutions and not be stuck in the problem?